Hi, everybody. I'm Burgert, and I started training with Taika in the early 1980s. My first contact with Mr. Oyata's techniques was through Jim Lowe. He's been mentioned a couple times today. And I met Jim at an Okinawan training camp in the Blue Ridge Mountains. Jim was doing things I had never seen before, and I wanted to learn more. I had a background in arm bars and wrist locks from my training in judo as a teenager. And I continued with Kobayashi Shorin-ryu through high school, but this was all different. And after talking to Jim and getting to know him, he encouraged me to meet Mr. Oyata so that I could train directly with him. That year, I went to Taika's summer camp, and I've been to every summer camp since. For many years, Taika traveled around the country giving seminars, especially in the Midwest. At that time, I was traveling a lot for my job, and I was lucky enough to coordinate my work travel with Taika seminars, which enabled me to see Taika about every month, once a month. That was usually for a couple of days at a time. So today I'm going to be showing a footwork drill. Taika showed this drill back in the 80s. And Taika was very big on footwork drills. Yet it was easy to miss his footwork techniques because you were so busy watching his hands. He believed that the lower body controlled the upper body. In studying a video of Taika, I noticed that he was using the same footwork while doing an arm destruction technique. Through the video, I was able to see how the footwork set up the arms and helped them move in a more natural manner. This first part of the session will be showing and practicing the footwork. At first, the pattern will seem very simple, but like all of Taika's drills, there's something for every level of experience. As drills first appear easy enough, but the more one practices each drill, the more complex they become. Taika used to say, move from easy to difficult and from simple to complicated. It was one of his guiding principles. As one starts to study the foot pattern movement, they develop a body awareness. And as fellow martial art practitioners, I'm sure you value the opportunity to expand your training through developing that awareness. After you get the foot pattern down, you will find it applicable to many situations. I have been teaching this footwork as part of one's go-to techniques to avoid that deer in the headlight reaction. If something comes at you, your first response is, what do I do? What do I do? If your feet will move on their own naturally, it'll buy times for your hands. All right. So after the pattern starts to feel comfortable, I'll start to add the hands. And the same footwork then at the end of the session will be used to show 3 different attacks. So you guys ready? Get something done. I'm going to start out so you guys don't get bored before we come up with just demonstrating what we'll do towards the end, just so you know what to look for. So if Scott comes on out, we'll face this way, Scott. All right, so Scott's going to start out. And the thing of it is no matter what you do, tuite, arm destruction, whatever, you have to be very fast, and nobody is fast enough when I'm standing there. If Scott goes ahead and pushes me real quick to try to do this basic trap that Taika first showed us, it's very hard to get that in. So this footwork, like I said, is going to allow me to buy some time. I'm going to do the same footwork for all 3 attacks. And again, don't pay so much attention on what the hands are doing. Spend more time watching the feet, because that's what we're going to be working at. So if Scott pushes me, I come in here, I come in here. All right. Now this time Scott's going to push me again. I'm going to do the exact same footwork, this time with a little slightly different technique, okay? And then one more time, Scott's going to punch me, and I'm going to do the exact same footwork. Nothing's going to change, only this time it's going to be a slightly different technique. Okay, so 3 footwork, or same footwork, 3 different responses. One was the trap. One was the hand push, palm push, and then one was a basic arm destruction. All right, thanks, Scott. So we're going to start out nice and slow. And I'm not sure how many of you are going to get involved, so I'll just do it for a while just so you can identify the pattern. And then we'll go into the actual technique. So before I go on, Glenn, how much time do I have? Because we're kind of running over time, and I don't want to cut into Gary's.
We're exactly on time.
We're exactly on time? Okay, good. Excellent. Okay, so some of this is going to talk about some of the things Mr. Tula just got done talking about, some of the things Mr. Polender talked about, some of the things Greg talked about. So the biggest thing here is you're going to learn to relax, we hope. And so the initial movement is going to be very simple, and the hand's going to come up. And at the same time the hand comes up, the right foot turns out. So it's pretty simple. Left hand straight out, right foot 45 degrees. So we go 1. Don't turn the foot too much, just 45. 2. 3. 4. And 5. Now, like I said, it's very simple, but again, these things tend to get more complex the more we do. So if you're just if you're turning your foot and then raising your hand, it's wrong. If you're raising your hand and then turning your foot, it's wrong. You want to raise your hand at the same time your foot turns out. And so just as Greg had talked about the action reaction, the easiest thing you can do is the hand's going to come up. But as you turn your foot at the same time, you'll find that your weight is transferring over to your left foot. And if you transfer over to your left foot, that frees up the right foot to move. If you try to bring your hand up and turn without transferring your weight, you're going to either wind up leaning to the side or you're not going to be able to twist your foot. So in order to make this work, again, you have to relax. And that's why you take it slow. Left hand comes up at the same time the right foot turns. So that seems easy enough. The second part we're going to do is after you do 1, and you always start from the beginning, so you do the whole drill. From here, you're going to bring that left foot right next to your right. My knees will be slightly bent. So my left hand comes up at the same time our right foot turns out. My feet come together. So in order to do that, when I start, my weight's on my left foot, so I can turn my right. And now I'm going to have to transfer my weight to my right. And as I transfer, that's when the leg comes in. You'll see my body is 45 degrees to the right here. I don't know when the attacker is coming in, if he's going to punch me, kick me, or whatever, but I'm covering and blocking my groin by turning. So if, like Jim Tulin just did, if you come on in and you think you're going to be able to slap the person's arm away, Marvin, can I borrow it? So Marvin comes in and he throws a punch at me, and if I think I'm just going to be able to do this, and Marvin's much smaller than I am, and I still can't move his arm. So like Mr. Tulin said, you have to learn to relax. And as the hand comes up here and as the body weight drops down, it's the body weight that controls the arm. So as he punches me, and now you see how not only have I turned, but Marwin's turned at the same time. So if he comes in and he punches and I come here, if he tries to punch me with that other hand, he's got no place to go. Also, if he tries to kick me from here, he's got no place to go because his weight is off. If I just merely block his hand and I don't stop him, he can do whatever he wants. But because I compressed him, and the reason I compressed him was because I put all my weight onto him. So it's similar as if I just took a Buick and laid it on top of Marwan, I would squish it. So he comes on in a punch, and that would be 2. Okay, thank you, Marwan. So I'll face the camera, do it just a couple of times for those at home. So 1, 2. And you'll notice I'm not turning the arm using musculature. As the body compresses, the arm just naturally turns on its own. So I'm saying, again, as we talk, arms all the way out. You're going long into short as they covered in the first session. So one more time, each, weights on the left, right, left hand straight out, right foot turns. On knee, your weight's going to shift to your right foot, and the body just compresses. Now from here, I'm going to take my left foot, and I'm going to bring it all the way around. My body is going to be going 45 degrees from the right. So here's the straight. This was where I first was. And now I'm going to be, my belly button is going to be 90 degrees from where it was on the second move. My feet, on the other hand, I come here, as I twist, my right foot's going to be straight ahead. I'm going to move back a little bit so you can see me, and my left foot's going to be going here. So originally, my feet were this way. On the first move, my right foot turned this way. On the second move, my left foot moved next to my right foot. And now on the third move, my right foot turns straight and my left foot goes off 90 degrees. So if you see the chart here, you'll see 1, the left foot remains stationary, the right foot turns. On 2, your left foot slides up next to your right foot. Now when you get to 3, you'll see that the right foot is looking straight ahead and the left foot is turned out at 90 degrees. All right.
You just gave it all away. It ends at 8.
Actually, I got another side, so we saved something for you. So again, you're 1, weights on your left, right foot turns out. 2, shift your weight to your right, your body compresses, the hand just drops naturally, you're not forcing it down. And then from here, you're going to twist so that your belly button is 45 degrees. And just so we have something for our hands to do, we're going to bring up this right hand. So you see from here, it's hard to twist the body, but if I just bring my hand up, it kind of propels my body forward. So try to move in a natural manner. You got 1, you got 2, and you turn and you're 3. Some of you guys practice a single double high block. They brought it up earlier today. You've got single, you've got double, you've got high. Single, double, high. Single, double, and now you can step into high if you want to use this drill. But what I'm finding out is this footwork that I first saw in a video that looked like it was strictly an arm destruction. I figured out that this footwork is applicable to any situation. And so whether you want to throw in a single double high, whether you want to throw in a tuite, whether you want to throw an arm bar, whatever you want to do, it will work just from doing this footwork. And again, if you have to concentrate on your feet, you can't think about your hands. Somebody who's a good dancer doesn't think about their feet and they can carry on a conversation. My wife's a good dancer. She can dance all day long and talk up a mile a minute. Me, when I'm dancing, I got to be counting in my head. 1, 2, 3, 4, which prevents me from carrying on a conversation. So when the feet get so natural, you don't have to think about them. That frees up the mind to think about the upper body. So one more time, we're going to go weight on the left hand comes out, right foot turns. Left foot slides up next to the right, I'm compressed, and I turn. Now from this position, I'm going to slide the back leg straight up to meet, the right leg is going to meet the left. And so when I turn, I was heel to heel, if you can see this position. And all I'm going to do is shift my weight from my right leg to my left leg so that I can slide that heel up. So you've got 1, 2, 3, shift that heel up. Each, the weight's on the right, turn, the weight stays on the right at this point. San, or she rather, I slide up my back leg, so I had to, when I went from here to here, I have to shift my weight to my left leg so that my right leg can slide up. All right. So a couple times on your own. Pretty simple. And one more time. And then we've got one more move on this side. And so 1, weights on the left, right turns. 2, left goes next to the right, compress your body. 3, twist. Your left foot's going in this direction, your right foot's going straight, your belly button's somewhere in the middle. Shift your weight to your left leg, right foot steps up. As I'm doing that, I'm going to bring my left hand up. And then as I step out, then I go into my high block. So if you want to work it into the single, double, high, you've got single, double, high. Okay? So one more time, shift to the left. As the left hand comes up, right foot to the 45. Left foot goes to the right, body compresses. You twist, slide that back leg up to the front leg. And as soon as you touch that leg, the front leg wants to slide out. So it's kind of like click-clack balls. You guys know what I mean by click-clack balls? Years ago, they used to have those balls that would hang from a string and one would hit the other, kinetic energy. it's the same thing. As I come here, in order to move quickly, as soon as this foot touches this foot wants to come on out. So take a minute to just practice that simple move on your own. That's how you feel comfortable with it. Now in the beginning, we're taking big steps. Everything's gross movements like Taika used to do. After a while, instead of picking up one leg, putting it down, picking up one leg, putting it down, picking it up, putting it down, so on. After a while, what you're going to want to concentrate on is sliding so that the foot hardly leaves the ground. So you're always maintaining contact with the ground for stability. So. Let those arms move you, even though your lower body is controlling your upper body. The arms will assist your legs in moving properly, so that it just, instead of becoming robotic, it's just like moving. It's just like walking down the street. Okay, so take a minute to practice that, and then we'll work on the other side. As a reminder, step one, oops. Step one, right foot turns out. Step two, left foot abuts next to the right. Step three, the right foot is straight ahead, the left foot is turning out 90 degrees. Step four, you'll see that the back leg heel slides up so it touches the front heel. And then step five, you'll see that there's separation as the front leg pulls apart from the back leg. We get into step six now, and it's the exact opposite of step one, and that's because we're doing the other side.
Like, I have a question for you.
Yes, sir.
I saw that when you were doing the high block, you brought your left hand inside.
Yes.
And for whatever reason, when I did it, my left hand was outside. Is there a preferred method?
I don't have an answer for that. It's just in this particular way. I was always taught, Taika always taught me to come inside with a hand, but I don't think it matters, to be honest. I think as long as the hands are moving, whatever works for you.
Thank you, sir.
All right, so we'll repeat it again. So one, weights on the left, left hand's out, right foot turns. Two, left foot matches the right foot, hand compresses. Three, I twist, I'm bringing my right hand up. Four, slide up. Five, I separate, finish off the high block. Now from here, instead of turning my toes out, because my toes are already 90 degrees, I'm going to turn my toes in so they're 45 degrees. So I was here, and all I'm going to do is turn my toes in, and at the same time I turn my toes in, I'm going to bring my other hand up. So I was here. As the toes turn on, my right leg straight ahead, my left foot's turned out, and my right hand's straight out. From here, I compress my body. So we start out on one on this side. It's one, hands out, two. One, two. One, two. One, two. And one more time. One, two. One, two. Now, because we're doing the other side, the right foot's going to turn out. My belly button is pointing straight, 45 degrees. Right foot is straight, left foot is straight ahead. Right foot is 90 degrees. So I went one, two, turn. My hands are coming up for the double block. So each knee, whoops, I'm sorry. Each knee, side. Each knee, side. So it's just the same thing on the other side. And if we go from there, we go each knee, san, rear heel slides up to meet the front heel. as the high block starts to come up, and then we separate on 5. So, each, V, San, Shi, Go. Okay? So just practice that a couple of times till it becomes fluid. Again, no muscle, total relaxation, using the body in a natural manner, just like walking. And if that becomes comfortable, then you just add the right side to the left side. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I think I missed something there. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So a 10 count. I'll just. And again, try to get used to touching the floor at all times so that your foot is sliding. You're not picking up and putting back down.
Could you please show the transition one more time?
Yeah, absolutely. Let me just grab a drink here. So my feet back here ended on the 5. If I'm doing the hands as well, they're up here. When I did it onto the right, I had to turn my feet out 45 because I was starting straight ahead. But now my left foot is pointing here. So to get it at a 45-degree angle, I have to turn my toes in 45 degrees. And as I do that, my hand's going to come up. So my left foot was at 90 and I was here. And as my left foot turns in 45, I'm just going to raise my arm up straight. Just come straight up from the shoulder. 2, the right foot matches the left foot. My arm collapses. 3, I turn. Right foot's 90, left foot's straight ahead. Belly button's in the middle at 45. 4, left heel slides up to right heel. I'm bringing my hand in. And 5, separated, come on out. Look, practice that for a minute on your own so you get that. Otherwise, you guys already know the techniques that Tuite we're going to do, but without the footwork, it doesn't always work. So take a minute, we'll move on.
It's funny that you're going over this, Blake, because when I used to go to the seminars with Taika, I would sit down right at the front.
Yeah.
And sit at cross-legged at his feet, and I would watch his feet.
You were the one guy that watched his feet. Yeah. Either you were watching his hands or you were looking up at the ceiling, wondering, what you were going to have for lunch. So.
Exactly.
I left out the story that I originally was going to tell is I saw this drill in the early 80s. I don't remember the footwork. I remember the hands. Years later, I'm watching the same drill on video, lock in at the footwork, don't pay attention to the hands. And I said, why have I never seen this before? How was I not there? And then 50 minutes into this video, there's Blake looking up at the ceiling, looking around. And no wonder I didn't remember it. I was busy thinking about what I was going to do when I got home or something. But it just shows you can stare at Taika for 6 hours and still miss, half the stuff you're supposed to be looking at. So now that we've got the footwork down, or at least the foundation, now we're going to start adding in the hands. This hand drill, the single double high, was just to get you used to moving your hands. The lower body controls the upper body. The upper body facilitates the movement of the lower body. So in this situation, Scott Martin will come up. Another question? Okay. So this is Marwin and Scott. Scott's a 5th dan, Marwin's a 3rd dan. And one of you guys push the other one in the chest and go ahead and make it very fast and try to do, without the proper footwork, try to do the chest trap. This is a The chest trap was the first two-a-day technique that Taika showed me, and for many people, the first technique anybody learned. So this, we're going to do without the footwork, but we're going to do it at real speed like it would happen in a bar fight. All right, so go ahead. Give it another try. Scott's pretty fast. One more time, try. It's very hard to be quick enough with your upper body to capture your opponent. And that's the problem. We practice in a dojo, and when we practice in a dojo, the uki stands there, you know, with their hand held for a minute and a half for you to figure it out. That's great for teaching purposes, but it doesn't help you in real life situation. So now Scott's going to apply the same footwork we did. And what happens is, because he is stepping off to the side originally, and he's not forcing Marwin, he is leading Marwin. Marwin's balance is off. It slows him down. It takes his strength away. More importantly, it buys that 1/10 of a second, half a second that Scott needs to get his head up ready for his upper body. So go ahead and try it this time with footwork. Still tricky, but much different response, right? I mean, much easier as Marwin's shaking his wrist. All right, and one more time. And just so you can see that it's an equal and fair dojo and just the upper ranks don't beat up the lower ranks, Scott's going to push Marwin now, and Marwin's going to do the same response. So go ahead and use the footwork, Marwin.
It's not equal, Blake. He threw him into the wall, and he's not being able to throw him into the wall.
I don't have a wall there. If it were up to Marwin, he'd come on over and grab my tripod and start beating Scott with it. So
Kick me in the groin first.
yeah. So one more time. Okay, so you can see the technique now. Now we're going to break it down into how you apply the footwork. So I can just borrow one of you guys, or you guys are doing a great job. So Scott's going to break it down just like we were doing it before, and it's like Marwin's not on there. As Marwin pushes, Scott's going to do the one. No, the one straight out and the foot turns. So one, good. If you'll notice, Scott's not putting any pressure on Marwin. The minute Scott puts pressure on Marwin, Marwin reacts. He knows something's happening. If Scott doesn't put any pressure on him, a red flag hasn't gone off in Marwin yet. So Marwin goes to push. From two, Scott's going to compress his body by sliding his foot up. And if he does that properly, yeah, okay, if you're doing it right. Yeah, okay.
Pulling it into it.
Yeah. Okay. On three, he's going to twist his body and capture with the, as he twists his body, that other hand would come up. I'm going to step in front of the camera. Normally, as you twist, that other hand would come up for the double block. That twisting allows your hand to come up so that you can get it inside for the trap. Come up this way or over the top, or whatever you want to do. Over the top, I would do. Good. Then from here, the back leg slides up to the front leg, and he pushes down as the front leg separates. So Marwin pushes, Scott comes on in. Good. Now he's deviated a little bit from the drill, and I don't want to confuse anybody, so I'm going to do it exactly the way we did in the drill. Marwin pushes, one, the hand just comes out. You'll notice I haven't compressed my body, the right foot's turned. I'm totally relaxed at this point. I might not even be touching, or like they talked about earlier when Mr. Tulin was talking, I may just brush his arm. As I compress my body and bring my left foot to my right, you'll see the effect on Marwin. I'm not pushing with my arm's coming along for the ride. On three, I twist, bringing that hand up, maybe for a block, maybe just to help me turn. Long as my hand is here, I might as well take advantage of it. So as my right foot slides up to my left, that's a good time to trap this hand against my chest. My left hand would be coming up for the high block. And then from here, I'm going to step and then immediately twist to the other side. So in this case, it's all of step 1 through 5 and maybe step 6 and 7 because of the extra twist. Because normally 5 would end here. I'm going to finish it off here. So I'm borrowing from the whole thing. So 1, 2, 3, step up. Now on 5, as I separate, I twist right away. and you can see the effect. And that's how, as Marvin comes, I've got time to finish off what I'm doing. Whereas if I don't use the footwork, Marwin, who's much faster than I am, will get me every time. So one more time, you guys.
Blake, can you do that again from the other angle where you switch places with Marwan so we
Oh,
can see it
absolutely.
from the other side?
Okay, so Marwin pushes. As he pushes, the one is the right foot turns, the left hand comes straight out. Totally relaxed. Now I'm bringing it a little apart. It may be a little bit more here or whatever, but what I'm saying is I'm not starting out from here trying to move his arm. On two, I compress. You see how Marwin moves. Not because I'm pushing him, because if I push, I can't budge him. It's mostly because I'm just relaxed. You see how we had to take a step. On three, I do the body twist. So I think about pulling my shoulders back. Now you see how the hand's right here, whatever I want to do. Okay? But my hand's here. So long as my hand's here, and I really like this chest press, as I slide the leg up, the hand just traps. I separate that left foot. I'd be bringing the hand up for the high block, right? So as I twist my left foot, step up and twist, the high block just comes down for this technique. So he pushes, I go 1, 2, 3, trap, hand comes up, and come here. Is that better? Did that give you a better view?
Yes, that was great. Thanks, Blake.
Okay, great. All right, so we got a little bit of time. If you've got a partner, practice that to see if you have any questions. Just take a minute or two to go through it. Take it slow. Marwin and Scott will be demonstrating it back and forth in slow motion so you can watch them. You should be able to see the chart from here. I can switch the chart around. So if you already know 1 through 5, here's 7 and 8, 9 and 10. And just watch those two, see if you can follow them and see what's going on. All right, so I'll be back in 2 minutes.
It's a variation. Well, I did the second half. So I was blocking inside traffic. So I was cutting it in half because I'm slow. So,
You can see if you go to the small screen and see that 50 people.
Let's go through all the steps. How you want to do it? Well, go through all the steps. So. This one, right? Together.
So is there any questions on that? Does everybody understand what we're doing? Is there anybody that still needs clarification before we move on to the next technique? Because again,
But I'll ask a question. I noticed when they were doing it, at one point, if the one guy's pushing with his right hand, the other guy's coming up with his left hand. At one point, they pushed with the left hand and came up with the left hand. So now it's inside, outside instead of the same side.
I cut it in half the first time I did it,
Okay.
and I was doing an inside, so I was only doing half of the steps. And I was doing it wrong, so I ended up completing all the steps.
here's the beauty of the technique. Techniques never go the way we expect them to.
Exactly.
A bad guy never responds the way we expect him to. the important thing is if Marwin goes to push me and I'm expecting a push from the right hand and he winds up pushing me with the left hand, the footwork still hasn't changed. Because my go-to is, for me, is always going to the right, whether he's attacking right or left, because I don't have time to think. So if I'm thinking right and he pushes left and I still come here, my next technique is still going to be the same and it'll turn into an armbar. Again, it's so you're not getting hurt. That's what the footwork is for. Your mind will figure out what to do for your upper body. But even if I want to do the technique I just did, and yeah, he pushes differently than I thought, nothing still changes, right? Only now maybe I'm going to come in with a different technique, but everything else was still the same with my body. And that's what this is really about. Not to teach you how to do the chest press, you already know that. Not to do the palm press like we're going to do next. Not to do the arms destruction. You guys already know those. What I'm trying to teach you how to do is, and it doesn't have to be, maybe you want to do something else, but you have to have a go-to defense. Like Taika said, he knows what he's going to do to somebody before the guy even raises his hand. He's got his right heel up or whatever he's going to do. He's already shifted his weight. He's already got in his mind. For me, if I think I'm going to have to do something, my first response is, without giving anything away, is to just shift my weight slightly to my left and turn my right foot out. It's not setting off any red flags. Nobody knows what you're doing. But now the number 2 move, the number 3 move is right there instead of me thinking 1. So
you take a step back. We're just getting your mustache.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, here I am looking at me instead of, yeah. So what I'm saying is, instead of, if I think something's going to happen, I can easily do the 1 move without giving off telegraphing that I've done anything. The subtle shifting of my weight to the left and the turning of my right isn't going to alarm anybody. I've already skipped the 1 move now. So for me, the only thing is I haven't done is brought my hand up, but I've already shifted my weight. I might have to combine the hand technique for 1 and 2 in 1 move, but the initial body movement is just a subtle movement. And then the compression moves quick. Okay. All right. So the next technique we're going to demonstrate, Scott. And if the chest press wasn't the first Tuite technique Taika showed you, it probably was the palm press, right? And in the old days, somebody would push us and we would catch it this way and we would step up, right? And we would twist and we would force him down. And it worked great in the dojo, and it may work great for everybody. When I was first started, Chris Hubbard used to train with us, and he was 6'8", and he made this technique work on everybody because he was so strong. Greg remembers Chris. I mean, he just was so strong. The problem was it was hard for Chris to forget about using muscle because it worked for him. And eventually Chris ran into people that were just as strong as he was, and it didn't work so well. So this has nothing to do with muscle. You just have to learn to relax and compress. So again, the old way, and I don't say this is the wrong way, I'm just saying I'm not fast enough to make this work. Scott would push, and from here, what you would do is, as he would push, you would get your hand up in between, you would grab, step up, sink, and twist, and that works pretty good in the dojo. If we use the same footwork, and I'll go very slowly, as the hand comes out and I turn, I compress, get away from the danger of the hand, and as I turn, when this hand comes up for the double block, just so happens all I got to do is turn this hand over and I've got it. Now I'm going to still connect heels and separate so I get to the outside of Scott's body. As I do that, I can bring this hand inside, and now I'm going to skip the 1 and the 2 motion and just go right into 3 and come from here. So if Scott's quick, up back, because I've still got it. So you come here, and you come here. So it's the exact same footwork. I hadn't had to think about it. The footwork's innate. I can do it in my sleep. I just know here. Now from here, I just change. So we're going to break it down. Scott pushes on 1. My weight's on my left. My left hand's up. On 2, I transfer my weight to my right. Now, here's something to think about. Most rotate people don't block this way, but some other people do. They're going to try to block here. And if I do that, I'm not going to have the same reaction. So that's why the arm has to come all the way out. And as I compress, you see how it turns Scott's body away from it. Now, as I twist, his arm frees up. He wants to go in that direction. I turn this way. I just move in, add my hand. Now here I step. So I'm on the 6 or the 1 on the left side. And as I twist and step up, that's when the technique comes. So again, we're not teaching this. You guys already know this technique. I just would like you to apply it to the footwork and see if it makes it a little easier for you. So Marwin and Scott will be demonstrating it for the next couple of minutes. If you have a partner and you want to practice it, fine. If you just want to practice the footwork, great. But try it, because you may think it doesn't work until you try it, and then you'll see how applicable it is.
Like, you got about 4 minutes till we do the Q&A piece.
Okay. No, that's about. Okay, great, thanks, guys. Okay, I've got one more, apparently before the questions start. This one's not going to take that much time because nobody's going to want to practice it more than once or twice, but it's going to be the exact same footwork. And this is the technique I'm going to show is the technique I first saw Taika using this footwork on. And what it involved was an arm destruction where Taika hit somebody in the arm. As Marwin's pushing Scott out or whoever. And in the beginning, we're just going to take it slow. So, yes. So when I first tried this years ago, like so many of us, I just tried to hit the arm at the same time. And sometimes you got lucky and sometimes you didn't. And it was depending on how strong you were. And, you know, Greg was probably the only one in the beginning that knew the real way to do this. The rest of us were just trying to, you know, imitate what Taika was doing. And what we saw was Taika hit a guy in the arm with both hands, and we couldn't figure out why they didn't fall down. And so they come in here and they go boom, and it didn't feel good, but the guy still had plenty of juice left to beat you up if he wanted to. And then watching the video and watching the footwork, what I understood was, just like Jim Tulin was talking about, if you're just sitting there and your wife backs up into you 2 miles an hour and you can move while she hits you, you don't like getting hit with the car, but it's not devastating. If you're pinned next to a tree and the car backs up into you, then it's more devastating. If a car is backing up to you from behind you and a car is coming at you from the front and you get squished in between them, then that's horrible. So from here, if I just try to strike from here, one hand is supporting his arm and it's not doing anything. But if I let the body move, the body is moving in this direction. And at the same time, I'm striking with this hand. Now you have 2 trains coming and he's squished in between them. So the difference between doing this is one hand is holding him straight and I'm hitting him and nothing. The other one, there's no support. Then when I strike, it just penetrates right through the arm. If I'm trying to hit the arm, it's not going to work. If I could care less about hitting the arm and I'm just doing the footwork, then it works every time because I'm just passing through his arm. So I'm going to do it one time without any pain to break it down. And then Scott and Marwin could beat the hell out of each other while you guys try, because we only got a minute left. So same thing. So one, hand comes out, foot turns. Now I might have already done one before he started the punch. But from here, same footwork, I compress. Now, as I turn, as this, I'm still compressing, I'm turning before I finish compressing, so that this hand is still going this way, like this hand is coming this way. So it's not quite as black and white as it is on the palm press or on the chest press. It's more as this hand is coming here, and before it stops, this hand meets it. You know, because this hand comes here and drops and turns, they kind of meet not quite halfway, but more like this one's 75% of the way, and this one's right first 25%. So, and this was the technique that Taika was demonstrating, and all I saw was his arm, the guy's arm pull back, but I had no idea what his feet were doing, and this is exactly what he was doing. So you come here, and as you turn, you strike this way. And if you want, you continue, and then as you turn, you go into this side, and then just drop and hit. So just beating up his arm wasn't enough. You can come here, strike, and then finish him off here. Okay? So take a minute. Scott and Marwin will try not to kill each other. Demonstrate. I think Marwin's arm's already gone. Watch, practice. We got about a minute left, I believe. So
Yeah, your belief is wrong, but that's okay.
that's it.
You're a minute over, but that's all right.
Okay.
Like, I liked your statement that it's really not about you trying to hit the arm. It's about you doing the proper movements and the arm gets in the way. Not your fault.
I said enough.
You said enough.
Yeah. All right. So apparently none of us are as tough as we thought we were. Everyone's arm shot. So we've had enough, but are there any questions? Is there anything anybody didn't understand or didn't explain? I mean, again, you guys have all been around the block a few times. You all understand how to do single double high. You all understand this. You all understand this technique. This was just a way for me to make it more applicable and to make sure that it works when you need it to work the most. So any questions or anything anybody want to see again, or anybody want to see Scott get hit again or anything? No?
Blake?
Hey, Blake, I just have one comment. It's Manny. How you doing, brother?
Sure, good, man.
Yeah, I think what by doing this and watching your footwork
Yeah.
and seeing it in this venue, you kind of clarified what I've been told and taught. It's just now it's just a different perspective, and it really drove it home, which is how both Taika and Greg have said, you know, you don't have to come so far out. You know, when the hand leads, the body's going right behind it. So that is just that short distance. So I noticed when you're doing this technique, your hand is just coming up. What's actually doing the devastation is when you bring your body around and the hand comes up. And I noticed that the impact is actually about that far away. So
Yeah.
maybe so in those 2 inches, boom. That's like getting hit by a freight train within 2 inches, though. So you kind of clarified it a lot better for me. Thank you.
But thank you for your comment. It's everybody this morning's already touched on some of the things that I talked about. And it's interesting how we all thought we were going to talk about completely different things. And Mr. Polender talked about energy striking, and Mr. Tulin talked about learning to relax, and Greg talked about, you know, how he puts things together and everything. And even with Jerry talking about the Joe and stuff, I mean, it all ties in together. And so even though we're all teaching something completely different, you'll see that we're all doing the same stuff. You know, the body's still moving in the same way. The hands are moving the same way. And for me, the footwork just changed everything because I didn't think fast enough to know, do I need to move to the left? Do I need to move to the right? But once you don't think about it anymore, the hands will figure it out on their own. And I never understood that when Taika would talk about that, where he'd say, don't worry about the hands, they'll take care of themselves. Once the body starts moving, it's amazing how this stuff just falls into place and you're like, hey, how the hell did that happen? I didn't even know my hands could do that, you know? So, but thanks for your comments, Manny. Anybody
Hey,
else?
Blake. Yeah, Blake, Helen here.
Hi, Helen.
Hi. So can you give a, just maybe a brief comment if you have the idea on the top of your head of times when you're putting a toe out as opposed to heel in, or when you might have a weight more on the toe or the ball instead of the heel?
Yeah, sure. It's and again, this isn't necessarily gospel the way I taught it today. What works for you is more important than maybe what works for me. But most of the time, I'm not really thinking about the foot turning out or whatever. I'm thinking about where my weight distribution needs to be. And so if I'm standing here and I've got my weight on both equally on both left and right leg, and I turn that right leg, but I'm still equally balanced, it's very hard for my body to figure out what to do. But by twisting the foot, my body naturally twists 45 degrees. And you guys have done this technique so many times whenever you're doing tuite that naturally you'll want to sink down. And so the footwork, even though I've emphasized it, it's not that the right foot is turning out, it's because my belly button is turning out. The right foot just comes along for a ride. And the next move takes its, speaks for itself. I'm just matching. And now from here, I explained it as the foot turns out, but in reality, I'm just turning my belly button so that it winds up in the 45-degree position. And wherever I put my feet, naturally, that's where I wanted them to be. But because I'm spread out now, I can't step anymore with that front foot. So like Taika would explain with the back punch, I'm just sliding up and coming here. Now, I know I have to get all the way over there to start the second half. And that's a lot of movement, especially when you got a big body like mine. So all I'm doing here is twisting the feet in a little bit to meet me part of the way. And then when I step up, because you still want to do that step up, because I might be, instead of the sixth move, this might be the number one move. I chose to start to the left. Or you always want to compress that spring before you turn. So it's one thing if I'm here, if I turn. It's another thing if I compress and then turn, getting small and then growing and expanding. And so this is the compression. So because I was here, if I turn, I don't have any compression. So that's why I just turn that foot in a little bit, just so it's at the 45-degree mark, just like it was on the one position. And then this is just a cover so I don't get hit in the jibs. But at the same time, I'm sinking and compressing. And now when I turn, that compression allows me to explode this way. And then it's just a simple step up and move. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, no, that's good. I'd like to
Okay.
see the focus. Thanks.
Yeah, again, try to think of a spring. You're like Taika used to talk about that. You kind of move the opposite way of where you're going to want to wind up going. And so if you just twist, then it's all going to be muscle. But if you take a spring and you twist it and compress it, its natural reaction is to want to expand. And that's all I'm doing. I'm getting away from the danger, compressing, and then just opening, and it's all right where it needs to be. Okay?
Hey, Blake, I've got a question. If you show it slow,
Yeah.
you do the left leg comes to the right leg with the number 2. But
Yeah.
when I watched you do it, you bring the left knee over, but when you do it fast.
Yeah.
So the foundation part is what you're showing here. But when you
Yeah.
do an action version,
Yeah.
you kind of just bring the knee over because the body knows what it's supposed to do.
Yeah, you know how it is in the beginning, you over exaggerate, like a single double high, right? It used to be single, double high, and then after a while you started doing all this, It's in the beginning, everything has to be gross exaggerations. Then after a while, you'll find maybe the true technique for you is just this, It's kind of like an arm bar, right? In the beginning, big wrap, step, arm bar. And now most of you guys probably are able to do an arm bar just like this, right? It's the same thing. So You know, obviously, if you could get your body to move with less gross movement, that's the best situation. But in the beginning, if you just do little motions, it just looks like you're merengue dancing or something, you know.
It's akin to
I'm
Jim's
not
statement
against
of
What's that?
if it's akin to Jim's statement, if you get up to the 30th floor, then you go and haphazardly build up to the 100th to the penthouse, it doesn't fall
Yeah.
down. So if you don't do those initial gross movements and try and skip it, the final movements aren't right.
Exactly. So you're just, you know, the biggest thing is it looks like the footwork is the biggest thing. The footwork is just facilitating, allowing me to go from relaxed to compressed to opening to compressed to opening. And that's really all I'm setting up. Just the shrinking, the expanding, and turning my body away from dangerous situations.
Right. Question?
Anybody else?
Anybody? I
Yeah, I
think
have a question.
so. I heard somebody who.
Mel.
Okay, well, guys, I hope you enjoyed it. And again, it's been a pleasure being here, and thanks for letting me be a part of this. And I'll bow out, and I guess Mr. Schultz coming on in about 5 minutes, right? So,
Yep, he is. Looks
all
like
right,
he's ready.
thank you.
He's moving.
Good job, Blake.
Thank you.
Thank you, Blake.